You are listening to the Primetime Podcast with your hosts, Bryant Chisel and Jake Jorgensen. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Very special episode this week. We have Week 12's Rewind. So we're coming up on Week 13 here. This is Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving to all you glizzy gobblers out there. Oh, jeez. I got to hit the pause button already. Haven't even finished the intro. So this week we are without our Lord and Savior, Jake Jorgensen. A lot of people were busy this week with Thanksgiving stuff, which is very understandable. So we scraped Greg off the side of the road. Welcome in, Greg. Thanks for joining us tonight. Second in command. So who knows? Maybe Jake keeps losing and Greg keeps winning, and we'll have to make a permanent change. No. Jake. Oh, do I have the Jake?
You're trash at fantasy.
I do have the Jake. You're trash at fantasy button. Nice. I wasn't sure if I changed that back to Brandon or not. Because Brandon keeps winning, so. All right, well, anyways, we're going to kind of go business as usual for the episode, just minus Jake, so, we'll have some better analysis, I guess.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're actually announcing the guy who wins every now and then.
Oh, jeez.
King Jake, I love you.
Pain. That feels like a shot at me, too, not going to lie.
I mean, it is.
Oh, man. Okay, well, let's just get right into it, huh? Biggest blowout looks like it was Brandon and Jake. Jake.
You're trash at fantasy.
There we go.
Yeah, when you said Jake couldn't make this week, I was like, oh, yeah, it was a bad week for me. I get it. I wasn't thinking Thanksgiving.
Yeah, no wonder he couldn't be here. Yeah, I checked every team that won this week, Greg, and you were the only person that was available, besides, obviously, myself. So.
Yes, Mike. I feel like Mike... I know he hasn't won in forever, but he does have 2 wins. I think he's qualified.
I know. I talked to Jake about it because I kind of wanted to reach out to Mike and see if he was available, but Jake said he wanted to hold out and see if he'd win another game quick against Jake this week because Jake and Mike play this week, and as much of a scheduled dub as Mike is, if anybody's gonna lose to him, it's probably Jake.
That's fair enough. All right.
So, He wanted to give it a week, but I do want to get Lemons on the show sometime this year before it's over. Also, I talked to Trent earlier today, and he said he wanted to special guest onto a show sometime this year because found out about it. So,
or we have Trent and Nick dual analysis for the Super Bowl.
that would be something. Both those guys used to be in this league. Nick much more recently. Trent was in this league for a year or two, I think, back in I don't know. Maybe 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. It was probably middle school or high school for 2 years. He had his team name. It was let's see some TDs. Then
makes sense.
We kicked him out for some reason. I don't remember what it was. It was some sort of.
Oh, kicked him out.
Yeah, we kicked him out. He's the only person I've ever kicked out of this league. We kicked him out because he offered somebody $5 to trade them a player or something like that. And then.
Dang, I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's evil. I didn't know he's a Pete Rose of this league. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, back in the day, we were kind of just looking for an excuse to kick Trenton out after his really stupid team name. So.
You're evil for that one.
I'm only mildly joking. I remember those days. Yeah, so anyways, Brandon and Jake, I'm going to keep pressing this button and it's going to be great. And Greg can't hear it, so if he talks over it, it's not his fault. Jake.
You're trash at fantasy.
But Jake is trash at fantasy. Jordan Love didn't have the week that he had hoped, which is funny because the Packers absolutely dismantled the Niners. I don't know. Josh Jacobs had 3 touchdowns, so it's worked out that way, I guess. I didn't really know that was in the range of outcomes for the Packers to just have a crazy running game and not really much of a passing game. But I guess it is. Cool. I don't know. Everybody else on Jake's team kind of stinks. Dave Montgomery got hurt. That could be a huge deal for Jake because he's questionable for Thursday this week. Mark Andrews had a good game. Congrats, Jake, on I guess your newfound love. Isaiah Likely Goose too. That's hilarious.
Has he had a bad week since you traded him?
Yes,
I'm
he
looking at it
has.
right. Oh, he's had two. Okay, fair enough. He had
Yeah,
two like duds.
he's had 2 bad games, which is you can see where I traded him, and it's quite unfortunate for me, but yeah, especially because I got Jake Ferguson in the deal, and he's not been very good. If down the field, he's concussed currently. Jake's guy JMO had a pretty solid week. I mean, you're happy with that with JMO for sure. On the bench, Caleb Williams dropped a 31 bomb. Not that it would have changed the outcome of this game, but it was the right start. So get dub, Jake.
So-
Crash Fantasy. Jake.
You're trash at
I remember I reached out to Jake, I want to say like 6 weeks ago. No, it might have been even more sooner than that. I asked him if he was interested in Tua for like a late round pick swap. And he said, "Your team's trash. Lose my number. I hate you. Don't talk to me." Which I thought was a little toxic, but I'm like, all right, whatever. But no,
Yeah.
in all seriousness, he was like, "No, I'm going to ride with Jordan Love. I'm going to ride with Caleb Williams." And I mean, Caleb Williams is looking up now, but I wonder if he's regretting the Tua move. I wish I could ask him.
Yeah, I mean, Tua's been lighting it up. That is true. And the fact that Jake's not on the show means that he'll be forced, legally obligated to listen in to the show this week. He might have never
True.
done that before. So I'm sure I'll get a message from him at like 3 a.m. saying, "Wow, Greg roasted me too hard. Now I'm crying."
Editor's note: I did not want Tua.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, Brandon's side of the ball. Honestly, the kicker and defense carried big time to inflate his score because his team was fine, right? But Will Lutz led the league this week as a kicker, which is big for Brandon because he picked him up specifically for this game. His guy must have been on bye or hurt or something. I don't know who he cut before, but yeah, he picked up Will Lutz for a spot start and he ended up with 22 points. So classic Brandon these days. And then the Houston defense wasn't the top defense this week, but I believe it was the top owned defense.
Mm.
So that would be 3 weeks in a row for Brandon having the top defense for the record. At least 2 of those were Houston. Yeah, probably just 2. But Jalen Hurts was pretty bad. Cortland Sutton's been kind of tearing it up. I mean, Bo
Ever
Nix.
since George dropped him, he's been insane.
Actually true. Brandon and I were talking about that because George cut him on 10-12, which would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, I believe. Right before 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It would have been right before this 15-point. Yeah, it was. It was right before this 15-point game because we were giving George a ton of shit in the chat because Cortland Sutton had 15 points the week that he dropped him, and then he goosed or didn't play the next week. Might have just goosed. Yeah, he did just goose because he was projected for 11. And then everybody's like, "Oh, I guess George was justified." And then ever since then, he's been a stud. So, well, I guess, and a lot of that's to do with Bo Nix because Bo Nix has been kind of cooking.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, if it wasn't for Daniels, well, I guess no, it's AFC NFC Rookie of the Year, right? Or is it that only one?
I
It's
don't
like
know.
baseball where they have two, or is it just one? I forgot.
It's usually just one, I think.
Okay.
But they have like offensive. Ooh, crap. I think it's just one.
Okay, so it's probably gonna be Jaden Daniels, I imagine, for Rookie of the Year for offensive.
You'd
But
think
Bo
so.
Nix should put himself in conversation.
Well, absolutely, especially the way it's been going now, because Bo Nix has been tearing it up, and Jaden Daniels has been all right the past few weeks. And a lot of it's popularity contest, and a lot of football opinions are kind of what have you done for me recently? So
True.
yeah, it's interesting. Bo Nix he's been red hot these past handful of weeks. He's been looking like a contender for the Rookie of the Year award. If he can keep it up, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets that award. But I don't know. Cooper Kupp was pretty solid, I guess. I think a lot of this came pretty late in the game. He had a 27-yard touchdown, I want to say, towards the end of the game. I know because I had him in another league. Get fucked, Lane. I need a Lane your trash at fantasy button, but I guess everybody knows that. So what's the point of having a button? Oh, sorry, Lane. Boom, roasted.
Lane's fourth in our league right now, but it's fine.
Yeah, I know. I know he's ahead of me. But he only had like 87 points this week, so.
Fair.
Acham was good. James Conner was bad. And the rest is kind of history. Brandon's bench, Judy and Ridley have continued to be solid. Ridley's been pretty darn good lately. Bad week last week, but other than that, and Jerry Judy also been really good. Basically, ever since Amari Cooper left town, is my understanding. So, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Everybody else, who cares? Oh, Isaiah Pacheco is supposed to be back this week, I believe, but I
He
don't know.
is.
Yeah, it sounds like, I don't know. If I'm Andy Reid and the Chiefs, I'm probably not giving him a ton of work if I can help it. Get him ready for
Yeah, I mean,
playoffs.
it'll be interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
selfishly, I'm playing Brandon, so I hope they hold him out for another week. But
Me too. I just want to see the world burn. Yeah, so, all right. That does it for this matchup. Jake's Trash Fantasy. Brandon's back.
Brandon's been back.
Yeah,
he's like on like a 5-game tier, isn't he?
It might be more than that. It is 6 now. Yeah,
Okay.
that was 6. All right, who's next? It looks like Cade and George. Big matchup here, or at least it was. Cade's team showed up in a big way, and George's team did not. George texted me, all ticked off, about Kyren Williams. He's like, dude, you traded me Kyren Williams. He's a bum. I gave you a first-round pick for nothing. It was really funny. I got a kick out of it because at the time I thought, Kyren Williams was worth first. But ever since Puka and Kupp have gotten back, he has not been the same, which, makes sense. I guess you don't think about it at the time, but yeah.
I mean, a good GM would, but
he's got a good few matchups coming up as far as running backs go, so we'll see if he can bounce back. But yeah, I mean, he's still been getting carries, right? I mean, 22, 15, 15, 16. It's been more the end zone and the passing work. Past 2 weeks he has no targets. That's week 8 he had 7 targets. It's like, but that's a big difference in PPR, right? That's a floor. So
no, that's huge. I remember last year I picked Kyren off of waivers like in week 2, and his bread and butter was the targets almost more than his rushing. So to lose that's a big hole in your offense right now.
And he fumbled twice this week, which really doesn't help. One was lost, so that's like minus E points, maybe 4. I think it's 3 in this league. So yeah, here you go. Yep, 3. Also not a good thing. Lamar was fine, a good fantasy score for a quarterback, but for Lamar, it's kind of average. AJ Brown was a stud. George's guy that he was trying to trade. Justin Jefferson was trash. Addison had like all the fantasy points.
Yeah. Addison's been like, I honestly didn't know. I thought Addison might be on waivers this year for how bad his production's been, but
he was for a while, I think, too.
Was he? I believe it.
I think he was. I'm sure he was drafted, but I want to say he was on waivers for a bit. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong league, but yeah. Ramondre had 3.3 and did a 2-point conversion, so that's how many carries? He only had 8 carries. That's way lower than, I guess it's game script, right? 15 to 34. Yeah. They got down big early, and I don't know what they could do. Yeah, I want to say Miami was up like 21 to zip. I don't remember if it was first quarter or halftime. It was
something insane like that. Yeah,
not good. Trey McBride was a stud. Juwan Jennings was fine. And that's kind of it. Jonnu Smith was really good on Georgia's bench, but he had McBride in, who scored more. And Bateman scored a touchdown. So, Cade's side of the ball, really nice. Especially Saquon, dude. So big. So, Greg's boy, Bo Nix. You a Bo Lever, Greg?
I'm not. I just feel like everyone like loves to hype up whoever like Sean Payton is coaching.
That is true.
And he's good. I just feel like people like really get a chub over Sean Payton still, and he's like a fine coach. I don't think he's.
I bet you he has more fantasy points than Mahomes. Oh yeah, big time. He's the QB7 on the year. That's kind of crazy.
He's shoot.
8, 9, 10, 11. Mahomes is 11. Wow, Mahomes isn't even a top 10 quarterback. Trash. definitely ignoring the fact that my guy Anthony Richardson is not even on this list.
He's actually looking better. I mean,
Anthony
not
Richardson,
hard, but
yeah, it's just points per game for him you have to look at because he hasn't played half the season.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so Bo Nix, Nico Collins was good, Terry was good, Saquon, baby. He had 270-yard rushing touchdowns.
That's
He
insane.
had like 300 something yards from scrimmage. It was ridiculous. Or I thought he did. Yeah, okay, yeah. 302, if my math isn't bad.
Those are
Absolutely
OJ
crazy.
numbers. My
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah, no kidding. And it was huge for me. I was playing against Lane in a must-win matchup in a different league, and I had Saquon and Cooper Kupp, and I was not feeling that great. I was on like 50 points. And then Saquon had like 20 at halftime. I'm like, all right, we got a chance. Busted off a big 70-yard run. I'm like, oh, let's go. And then I went to bed. I woke up and I saw he had scored another 70-yard touchdown, and I beat Lane by like 30. And I was like, yeah, get fucked, dude. And it's on ESPN, so you can do like ESPN is this feature for people that don't use ESPN because it's a trash platform. They do have a really good feature where you can taunt your opponents when your players score touchdowns. It's really funny. It like puts this little animated clip of the player like doing a touchdown celebration, and they get a notification on their phone. It's pretty good. I do wish
It's good
I do
content.
wish that they would implement a feature where you could taunt an opponent when someone on their bench scores. You know, it's like you should have started him. A couple times I would have really loved to do that, but
So
anyways.
imagine if they made one for a player you used to have. Like, every time Mark Andrews
George.
touched the ball, they'd get something.
Oh no, I was thinking Cortland Sutton. You didn't have to bring up Mark
Oh.
Andrews, bro. God damn. I'm dead. Already dead. Kenneth Walker was pretty disappointing. And that was a pretty low scoring game, and they keep putting in Charbonnet in the goal line. Like, if it's Kenneth Walker, he's better, even in the red zone. I mean, he had 90 yards from scrimmage, so it's not like he had a bad day in the NFL, but 13 isn't really what you're hoping for with him, but it's fine. You can get by with it. Tucker Kraft got a tud. Mike Evans, pretty good first game back. 5 catches, 70 yards, not bad. Kind of all she wrote. JSN continued his dominance, even with Metcalf playing. I don't know if I want to say he's taken over as the one, but he's definitely been dominating. I don't
Well,
know if
Metcalf
he's.
just got back like 2 weeks ago, so he still could be nursing something.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not 100%. I know he's practicing in limited capacity, I want to say, right now. But yeah, I absolutely agree. But at the same time, the fact that JSN is not only startable, but a good start with Metcalf back is huge for him, not only this year, but for next year.
True.
He was drafted in the 9th round, and oh, I forgot about that. Brandon drafted him in the 9th round and then traded him to. Yeah, there were some jokes about him in the draft. Yep, you were there. You were there. Yeah, he will be fine and a potential keeper for next year for Cade. I mean, he's got a lot of studs, so it'll be tough because it's hard to pass up on Nico Collins, Saquon, and Kenneth Walker or Terry McLaurin, right? Or
Yeah.
even Mike Evans. Well, Mike Evans was kept, so probably not him. But there's a lot of just higher tier guys that JSN's a good value, but shoot, if you could keep Nico Collins, Saquon, and Kenneth Walker and run that back next year, it's nice. Sounds nice, at least.
I'd be interested to look back to week 1 or 2, whenever the big trade was done. But is there a very real possibility Cade and Brandon end up in the championship? And just to think that they had like that, both 3 teams just kind of like almost like team swap early in the season, and it kind of benefited both of them.
It is interesting. I'd be curious to know. Maybe I'll do a dive on that tonight. I'd be curious to know what Brandon how his record would look versus Cade's record if Brandon had kept Nico and Kenneth Walker. Huh. I mean, Nico missed a lot of time this year, so probably wouldn't be that different. But yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting. All right. What's next? I guess it's horse piece. I think it's you in Lane by like a point or two. Wow. You know, Lane's team, when Jared Goff and Amon-Ra, when the stack doesn't work out, Lane's dead.
Yeah, it's so weird to me that that's like such a fickle combination. Because every week you hear Jared Goff's doing great. I don't think
The team is
I remember
doing
like
great.
1 week Amon-Ra hasn't had a touchdown, and you look at their stat lines, and it's more disappointing than you think it would be like over the course of the weeks.
Oh,
honestly.
Yeah, especially Jared Goff. Jared Goff has really not been that good for fantasy. But when he is good, Lane wins big because it means Amon-Ra was great. Because Amon-Ra's been good all year, right? I mean, yeah, a couple bad games, right? Every wide receiver has a couple bad games. But the consistency that Amon-Ra brings to the table is kind of ridiculous. If you could couple that with a big Jared Goff game, it's huge. But at the same time, I don't know, it might be one of those situations where I'm not a fan of the stack, personally. I'm usually a big pro stack guy, but I don't know. If I was Lane, I would have wanted somebody else other than Goff at quarterback. He's just been not good enough this year in fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, in the NFL, he's been great. And the problem isn't Goff, really. I mean, he hasn't been playing perfectly, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, the problem is Montgomery and Gibbs, right?
Yeah.
They've been cooking, scoring a ton of touchdowns.
It's bizarre to me in like year 2 of this experiment. We're in week 13, and both of them get reliable points each week.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane to me that I when Montgomery started getting loads, I thought like Gibbs was dead in the water, and now they're both viable keepers this year. Honestly, it's insane.
I had to hammer the pause button after you said they were both getting loads, Greg. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
You owe me. Oh. Holy man. Yeah, I mean, you're right, though. Your point stands. It is also crazy to me that they can both be so good. Yeah, I mean, Lane had some other disappointing players, too. Josh Downs. I mean, having to start Jerome Ford is rough. Basically a death sentence. So.
I was surprised he didn't pick up Justice Hill. I know you guys talked about it in the pod, and I thought that was. I honestly thought about putting a bet on Justice Hill just so Lane couldn't get him. I said it not to.
Yeah. How did
I think he ended up getting. I think he got a touchdown. I'm not sure if he did
really?
anything else, but I know he got a touchdown at least.
Good for him. Oh, he had 16 points. That's hilarious. That's the thing about Justice Hill is he'll disappoint you like 3 weeks, right? He'll get you like 2 points. If you're lucky, he'll get you like somewhere in the 5 to 8 range. But it'll be 1, 3, 5, and then he'll just bust off 15, 20 points, and you're like, wow, Justice Hill week. Usually it's when he gets worked into the receiving game, but I guess this past week it was only 4 carries.
He broke one for like 50.
Yeah, he must have busted a big 51-yarder. That'll do it. That'll do it. Yeah. I mean, not that it would have mattered for Lane, but you're right. It is good to feel vindicated about that, right? Feel good. So,
Expert analysis from you and Jake on that one.
Huge. Thanks, buddy. Nobody appreciates us. David Njoku was pretty disappointing. You're still probably rolling with him. And Hopkins was good. I mean, he got a touchdown, so. Oddly enough, the Chiefs had to throw the ball quite a bit against Panthers. Panthers were fighting back in a big way. So, I don't know. I mean, this is a tough one for Lane, but at the same time, I don't want to say it was a scheduled loss because I'm pretty sure everybody in the pod said that he was going to win.
I can guarantee everyone said in the pod. I remember.
Exactly. So, like, we all expected Lane to win this game. However, I guess if you're Lane with the James Cook on bye, I guess it's just James Cook. Yeah, never mind. No excuses, Lane. Your team sucks.
Switchup is really win from last week. Yeah, Greg's not going to win this one. You and Jake and I think it was Brandon all said that. And you're like, I mean, this is pretty much a penciled-in loss from Lane from the beginning.
This is a scheduled loss from Lane.
Real.
The revisionism against Greg this year has been ridiculous. It's great. All right, let's get to your team, Greg. What do we got going on? We got Baker. Kind of disappointing in all honesty, but it is what it is.
Wrong guy. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Bucky Irving had a big week this week, didn't he? Had like 2 touchdowns or something like that and kind of stole
I think so. The way I see it, though, is I approached it as Baker hasn't lost the job. That's kind of like I was debating Tua, but I'm like, well, Baker really hasn't had a bad, like he's had like 2 bad weeks, but like, other than that, he like gets like 30 every time. So my logic was just like, I don't know. I figured like both of them, like the matchups, like we had Mayfield against the Giants and Tua against the Patriots. I knew both of them would be like serviceable. I didn't see anything goosing. So it's kind of like, well, Baker hasn't lost the job. Let's roll with him. And luckily, it didn't matter for me in the long run, but definitely the wrong choice in hindsight.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some. I don't know. This next week will be interesting because in a vacuum, right? I'd consider playing Tua over Baker, but next week Tua has Green Bay, who has been good defensively. Uh, whisper into existence and knock on some wood. And Baker has Carolina next week, who I know it's Patrick Mahomes, but he hasn't been lighting it up this year. And Patrick Mahomes lit their asses up. So
Yeah.
division game too, though. So yeah, that'll be an interesting decision. Not really a wrong answer, I don't think, until after the week. You're not gonna, I don't think there's a clear cut. You should definitely play this guy, but yeah, I think I'd roll with Baker.
Yeah. I was happy that I was able to start Tank Dell and Pittman and still win.
That is
You know,
crazy.
you never know how that's going to go.
Yeah.
But both of them are serviceable enough, I guess.
This is a huge win for you, actually, seeing Drake London and Jamar Chase on the bench on bye week this week. So good to see that this is the first and only time you've benched Jamar Chase this year, Greg. So proud of you.
Yeah.
we're learning. We're getting better. I see you're about 1 year sober.
Yeah.
So yes, Stank Smell had 3 catches for 70 yards, and Pity City had a pretty solid week too. No touchdowns between the two, but they combined for over 25 points. So pretty happy with that. And Gibbs 25 points as well. Montgomery went down, so he got a little extra work this week, and who knows, maybe he'll get more work next week too, which would be big for you because he plays the Bears, if I remember correctly. And
Yeah, it's Lions Bears Thanksgiving.
I know the Bears have had a pretty good defense this year, but I don't know if there's really any stopping the Lions running game. So I'd be very excited if Montgomery doesn't play if I were you.
Oh, yeah, we're buzzing.
Oh, yeah. DeAndre Swift was fine, I guess. Brock Bowers, I put a bet down on Brock Bowers to get 6 catches or more, and I was wrong, so I'm upset with him.
Tragic.
Yeah, it really is. I'm going to ignore the fact that it was like an 8-leg parlay and 4 of the legs were wrong, but I'm going to take it out on Brock.
Fair enough.
Aaron Jones was excellent. 23 points, bouncing back from his injury concerns. So, you play him when he plays, and sometimes he's really good.
For sure, relieved about Aaron Jones. I wasn't like actively thinking of benching him, obviously this week because I didn't have anyone deep. But I was like, in future, I'm like, well, is that like going to be tanked down the flex going forward? And it's definitely not. Aaron Jones is like you said.
It's not.
He'll tear your hair out sometimes, but when he's on, he's on. You can't really have him on your bench.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, pretty complete dub from you, Greg. It's not like you lit the world on fire here, but showed up when it mattered, and Lane did not. And for your sacrifices this week, you have earned the first place position. Is this maintained it? Were you in that last week too?
I believe I had it last week.
I think you were too. That sounds right. So, proving the league that you don't even need Jamar Chase and Drake London.
I thought about doing Jamar Chase. Who needs it? Like, but if I played
Press, that would have been peak comedy if you would have been playing Preston. You did that. Who did he do that to that year?
The defense don't need it.
Yeah,
no, because he like forgot to start a defense or whatever.
Yeah,
still
something like that.
Like it might have been me. Honestly, I had a bad team that year. I think.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, a defense don't need it. Freaking Manti comes with this shit. I hope you're listening to this, Preston. That was dumb.
So I gotta listen to it anymore if you keep making fun of him.
Yeah, I know. Oh, jeez. All right, next up is me and Lemons. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of scared for most of the noon games. I think it was the Jaden Daniels to Zach Ertz garbage time touchdown that basically put my projection above like 80 something. So before that, I was scared. But Jaden Daniels threw a touchdown to Zach Ertz. Then I think Chuba scored a touchdown around the same time, and my team just popped off. And I mean, it popped off for me, which is busting 100 points. Yippee! I know Lemons is a scheduled loss, but I was sweating it out for a little bit. I had to make Lemons work for this loss. He doesn't get no losses for free, man. So, yeah, Mahomes had a good week for once. 3 touchdowns against the Panthers. It serves me right talking shit about him all year. Comes to haunt me. Quentin Johnson put up a goose. Dontavian Bricks is bad at football. Eckler's bad. these are Lemons' star players right there because they're keeping him at the bottom of the table. Mahomes and Hawkinson almost screwed him, but everybody else is bad enough that it just kind of works out, you know? It just kind of works out. Because if he starts Chad White and Kareem Hunt,
I think he is close. I don't know if he's there yet. I'm trying to do the math right now. I think he's still just short.
he starts Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
But he would have done it over
Metcalf.
Wicks, though, realistically. Quinn Johnson's been pretty solid.
Well, yeah, he would. Well, I think he would have probably started if he was trying to win. I imagine Metcalf and
Oh, yeah. He has
Hill.
Metcalf, too. Yeah, that is a good
and
point.
Tyreek, and then he'd start Kareem Hunt over Elliott for sure.
Yeah. Both
As
those
soon as he gets
running
Rashad
backs.
White over Eckler, I still think he's like 4 short.
Yeah, he honestly, there's a world where he's flexing Kittle, too.
If he flexes Kittle, he wins. But I
Yeah.
don't.
If I had Lemons' team, I'd probably think about it because Kittle's like tight end 1 on the year. And Hawkinson, if anything, he's playing Kittle over Hawkinson. But there's a world where you flex one of them if you have his team and you're trying to win. It's either him or it's like Brian Robinson or Eckler or something, right? So, yeah, it's close. It's very close if he starts a legit team, if he's trying to win this game. So, yeah, made him earn this one. You know, pulled some true Miami Dolphins owner shenanigans there. Yeah, Jaden Daniels cooked in the fourth quarter. That was about it. Everybody else was pretty disappointing. I knew I was going to be in for it this week with Kamara on bye. I had some guys on my bench that I couldn't play that I really wanted to. The touchdown to Zach Ertz, like I said, was big. Chuba Hubbard came in clutch. I don't know if Jonathan Brooks really touched the ball. I don't remember. He was definitely not as involved as he could have been. So big for Chuba. Hopefully it stays like that for my sake. Javante is bad, and Estime was worse. So I started the right one, but yeah.
You should take your own advice and got Justice Hill off the waivers.
Yeah, I suppose you're not wrong. Ferguson was concussed, so he was out. Kamara was on bye. Khalil Shakir's actually been surprisingly good this year, and he was on bye. That hurts big time. He's just been so consistent. He's been like a worse version of Amon-Ra, but not that much worse. He's surprisingly good. Thanks, Cade, by the way.
It's weird how the Bills receivers have worked out. I mean, before the Mark Cooper trade, I remember.
Yeah.
I drafted. It wasn't Gabe Davis. He's on Jacksonville now, but it was like
Keon Coleman, maybe.
No, it was shoot, no, it's gonna bug me. No, it's the same.
Sterling Shepard, was it? Or
No,
is he a
it's-
Giants guy?
Was it Samuel something?
Oh yeah. Is it Curtis Samuel?
Yeah,
there?
Curtis Samuel. Because
Yeah.
I think he was literally in the depth chart, wide receiver 1, and I think he's gotten at most like 5 points this year. Like it's been like the first 5 weeks of trying to guess who's gonna be the guy in Buffalo was like you couldn't do it. At least I
Yeah.
couldn't.
Curtis Samuel was listed as the one, but I stayed away from him in the draft process in all my leagues because I think he had like some sort of injury that he picked up in camp, and I was afraid of it. Yeah, I don't know. He hasn't really gotten it going there, right? But yeah, Cade actually paid me to take Khalil Shakir because I drafted Keon Coleman, and he wanted Keon Coleman, so I think he gave me like a 12th or something like that for Keon Coleman, and he gave me Shakir back. Oh yeah, call that a big win because Shakir's been much better this year. So,
Big dubs.
I respect the grind for Cade though, because I mean, going after those rookie wide receivers on a chance that they hit and then you can keep them late makes a lot of sense. And if you believe in a guy, I respect going after them. It's not always going to work out, but when it does, you look like a genius. So no shade on Cade there. I still think that was not a bad move per se. Just didn't work out. Thought about starting Justin Herbert in this game. Thankfully, I did not. Not that it would have mattered, but yeah, not great. Not great, Bob.
Hey, when's a win? You're still with Jake. Are you even with Jake? Or I guess
I'm one down. Yeah, I'm
One down.
one down. We'll get into the league though in a little bit. You're right. We got one more matchup. We have the matchup of the week. Who would have thunk? Preston and Nick. And Preston somehow scrapes the win together. I wanted to get Preston on the show really badly this week, but he was busy. He had family in town for the holidays, so he couldn't make it, unfortunately. But yeah, that
good
was
on Preston mid-tank to pull a win. I'm proud of that.
Exactly. He'll still stay in the second to last spot because I think Nick has him beat like crazy on points for.
Nick's been screwed this whole year. He's like I think the
Yeah,
5th most points.
it is unfortunate for him. It happens. In my work league last year, I finished as the number 1 scoring team in the league, and I finished dead last with like 3 wins. So it happens.
That's evil. I'd quit.
Well, thankfully, the payout structure is like half of the payout money goes to the top scoring team, and the other half goes to the winner. There's a lot of money involved in the league from like it's like pay to pick up and that kind of stuff. It's a whole thing. So
Okay.
yeah, it was definitely worth my time. I wasn't that mad about it at the end, but I was still kind of like, what the heck? This is outrageous. So yeah, I feel your pain a little bit, Nick. I will say, not trying to one up your pain and all, but I am. So suck it.
I lost something once.
Exactly. Yes, now this game here, this is a level of pain that I can't relate to. Losing to Preston in this league is not fun. Say that I probably have lost to Preston. What are the odds of one of Preston's 3 wins?
Yeah, I forgot I had 3 wins. Who did you beat? This is worth it. Who's
It might be
Preston?
Jake. I feel like it'd be Jake. Lost to you, lost to Lane, lost to Nick B, lost to me. Oh wait, no. He did beat me. I knew it. That was his first win.
This is something I can't relate to. Losing to Preston.
He beat me, and then he won his scheduled win in week 8 against Lemons, and that's been it since this game. That's all so funny. So Nick, I take it back. I can relate. I can relate on a deep level. Oh shit. We're dead. All right. So on Manthai's side of the ball, CJ Stroud continues to be disappointing for fantasy, and I keep telling Preston to bench him, and he just doesn't care. I know you're trying to tank and all that, Preston, but I'm not sure you really are. And Matt Stafford's a better start. He outscored him by 2 whole points, dude. Mark point and a half. But come on, like that's big money stuff right there.
Points on the table for sure.
Exactly.
You could pass you. Who's 4th from the bottom? Is that you?
Third, well, he's got to pass 3rd from the bottom first. Nick B.
Oh shoot, that's right. Yeah, it's a pass.
He's got. I don't know. I'm gonna take a stab in the dark at like 300 points. He's got to make up. Oh, it's only 100.
Yeah, 1.5. That could 2 more good weeks.
Hey, man,
1.5. You'll look a lot of difference for
Yeah,
Preston.
you'll get 1 pick worse in the draft next year.
Exactly.
Puka was great. He looks so good. Lab McConkey has been really nice. I think he's like 2nd for all rookies in receiving yards behind Brock Bowers this year. So kudos to Lab McConkey. He's been pretty good. Running backs are really disappointing. Laporta is basically unstartable in fantasy. It's kind of ridiculous what happened to him this year. It's Gibbs, Montgomery, Amon-Ra, and then the rise of J-Mo is the problem, right? There's too many mouths to feed. Laporta's an afterthought. I mean, yeah, he's getting targets, but they're not really high value targets. He's getting half of them as catches. Can he have a good game? Yeah, but so can like Kate Otten. It's like I don't know. And Josh Jacobs had a huge game. That's the only reason Preston really won was his 3 touchdowns, which is huge. As a Packer fan, having Josh Jacobs on your team or any Packer that has a big game is like you can't even buy drugs that give you that kind of feeling. Like, oh my God. You should see a doctor for an erection lasting longer than 4 hours. It's incredible. Anyways, I guess probably a little TMI.
Because when I was following the matchups, I was kind of surprised that I figured he kind of did like the Michael treatment and just like throw in a bunch of like scrubs. And I looked at his bench like I don't think Preston's throwing scrubs. I think this is like a pretty like you could like if someone could start the snap and it could think they're trying to win, and they might have been Preston what he was going for. But I mean like seriously,
yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh, like I mean.
His bench had big boy weeks, but everybody in his bench, I would have. I don't think Manthai started the wrong lineup. Dare I say this is the correct lineup? Bar, if Kyle Pitts wasn't on bye, I would have thrown him in there. But other than that, I mean, this is probably the lineup I would have played.
Preston, I'm no shade to Preston. Anytime anyone wins when they have nothing else to play for, I respect that. It's just his bench top too. I was kind of surprised. I think Waddle. I mean, Waddle's been terrible all year though, so I guess you can't.
It's tough.
Take the risk.
This is his first game over 10 points since week 1. So I get why you bench Waddle. It's a bummer he dropped big boy points. Jacoby Myers has been great though lately, so tough matchup. I see why you would bench him, And I mean, to be fair, McConkey and Puka both had good weeks. I probably would have played him over McConkey personally, but I respect the grind. Nick Chubb had been so bad before benching him. Yeah, I think Manthey started the right lineup, which I think you make a good point. I respect the shit out of that because Manthey's team on paper is really good, and on paper should be winning a lot of games. But something about it, man, is just cursed. You know, he doesn't need to start a bad lineup like Lemons does. He just loses anyways. I know he won this week, so it's kind of a bad example. But look at JT and Joe Mixon, man. These guys are studs, right? JT and Joe Mixon were both like top 5 round picks. I mean, JT was probably a second, first. He was the first overall pick in our keeper league. So his ADP was probably around round 2. And Joe Mixon drafted in the 4th round. Right? It's like, geez, man. Like, and Joe Mixon's been awesome this year.
Yeah, he's like RB3 or 4, I think, maybe even.
Yeah, definitely on points per game because he did miss 3 games in the beginning of the year.
Oh yeah.
But he's definitely top 5 on points per game. Now, you know, guys like Saquon will argue with him, but this is his first game under 10 points since the game that he got injured in. Right? It's just bad luck. Hey, it's like, what can you do? So yeah, I mean, Mixon and JT combining for 12 points is the only reason that Preston's score wasn't way more impressive than it should have been. Like Manthey should have handled Nick here, but it just wasn't in the cards. I don't know, something about it. Like, yeah, his bench outscored. You can't bench JT and Joe Mixon. Well, maybe honestly, you might be getting to the point where you can JT, but they've been tough matchups. You know, all of those games that he's been stinking up, he got back from injury, have been tough matchups. So he's got a much easier schedule going forward. There's a bye week mixed in. Then Preston's team will be dead. So, yeah. I don't know. If I'm Preston, I'm probably not keeping JT next year. So I would have tried to trade him.
You can't at the first pick.
You're right. You can't. So if it were me, I probably would have traded JT before the deadline to someone like George, who would have overpaid you, given you a first pick. Shout out my boy. You like that.
Speaking of unlucky, though, Nick's team.
Yeah, it's true. Kyler 5 points, bad. Kyler, has he been bad? On and off.
All right.
His floor is so low, which is so funny to me because he's quote unquote a running quarterback. There's just some games where he doesn't run.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, I'm not convinced that he's a good quarterback, or even an average quarterback. Sometimes he just looks bad. He's probably fine. I don't know. I mean, teams would stumble over the opportunity to sign him, but at the same time, like, he's clearly in that, like, QB2 range for me.
Yeah, you're not raising a trophy with Kyler Murray, I don't think.
Oh, I think you're right. If you're raising a trophy with Kyler Murray, then you could have rose that same trophy with probably a dozen other quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, like Jared Goff or
Cousins. Oh yeah, for sure. I'd rather have Jared Goff than Kyler, I think. Kirk Cousins, I think I'd rather have Kyler over Cousins, but Kirk Cousins' ability. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Kirk Cousins' ability though is at least equal to Kyler. It's just from a team building standpoint, Kirk Cousins is dusty as fuck. If you're talking a 1-year run, you could convince me. Plus, the new Call of Duty came out this year, so.
True. We actually performed pretty well, all things considered. It's been out for 3 weeks now. I think he put up 20 last week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, 2 weeks ago, but there was a bye, so the last time he played.
Well, he's got all his gaming on the bye. He usually doesn't get that lucky.
That's a good point. He played a ton of COD over the bye week, didn't study any film, and then he got so sucked into COD that he kept playing during this week. He was addicted. He got beat around by Seattle. Pause. Yeah, I don't know. George Pickens was pretty disappointing. He's been so good this year with Russ. I guess you just shake it off and take your L. Malik Neighbors hasn't been very good with Tommy Cutlets, unfortunately. He misses Daniel Jones and his like 10+ catches in a game. It's ridiculous numbers. McCaffrey was disappointing. Green Bay shut him down nicely, which was a very warm welcome. Bucky Irving, big game. Tony Pollard, big game. I mean, those two guys kind of saved his game from looking a lot worse than it could have been. Anthony Richardson, 12 points on the bench. Just started him, Nick B. Should have started him. No touchdowns. Still 12 points. See, that's that rushing upside, baby. 61 rush yards. You can't have a bad week when you have 61 rush yards as a quarterback. So,
And if I'm Nick B, is Malik? I mean, I guess he doesn't like a ton of keeper level guys right now, but is Malik Neighbors someone you can even like? You're that confident keeping right now? Of how like he's been pretty pedestrian the last weeks.
No, I'm keeping him. I'm keeping him. And the Giants, I'm going to assume, are going to make some sort of quarterback change in the offseason, whether that's drafting somebody or bringing somebody in like Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Not Aaron Rodgers, but well, don't rule it out. I guess don't rule it. I'd be shocked if he'd go there just because of how bad they are. But you never know. I guess
that's dude.
He keeps Malik in the 4th, which is good value for him regardless. Even if he's doing this, right, it's still double digits. It's at least flex worthy, and you know that he's talented.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a world where Nick doesn't keep Malik Neighbors. And if Tommy Cutlets is starting at the quarterback next year for the Giants, then yeah, I guess you take that L. I guess you do. But he'll know how the draft and all that'll shake out before he has to put in his keepers. So
yeah.
I don't know who else. I guess McCaffrey probably.
McCaffrey probably, and then Pickens if Wilson stays there.
That's a good point. Yeah, Pickens in the 5th round is not too bad. It's not crazy value, but it's not that bad. You can make an argument for Pollard too if they don't do much at running back in Tennessee because he's a 7th round pick and he's been outperforming that lately.
Yeah,
but I don't know. There's not a Pickens would probably be the one who I'd want to keep, as long as, like you said, they don't mix anything up like crazy. And if he drops off the face of the earth, then that'll be disappointing for them. Okay. Let's check out the league standings. So we have 4 teams that have clinched a playoff spot. Greg, you have clinched a playoff spot. Cade, George, Lane, all 9-3, 8-4. Good work, gentlemen. You're in. Seeding still has to be worked out, though. There's a lot of shifting that could still happen. 5th spot is basically guaranteed to be Brandon, unless I mean Jake can catch him and jump him by a game. There's 2 weeks left. Jake would have to win 2 and Brandon would have to lose 2. But if Jake and Brandon tie, then there's no way Brandon's points for is going to dip below Jake's. He's up like 200 something. So Brandon's very likely to be the 5 seed. And that 6 seed is going to be duked out between Jake and I. It's not really... It's not possible for anybody else to get that 6 seed besides Jake and I at this point. Nobody else can catch Jake except for me. And Jake and I's points for are really close together. They're within 30 points. So Jake has a scheduled win this week, I believe. Correct. Yep. And I have a scheduled loss this week in Cade. But week 14, Cade has Jake, and I have Preston. So if I beat Preston in week 14 and Cade beats Jake, then it'll be very interesting. Do I have to beat Cade?
Yeah, you do.
Gee.
Or
I need Lemons to step up, but that's not gonna happen. Okay, I gotta beat Cade.
I don't know if there's one game that Mike because now Mike has a game now Preston's a game up.
It's a good point. He has a game to give.
Guy, Jake wants to be. That's not George.
For the culture, Lemons. For the culture.
Exactly. You're gonna get the first pick. Just
There's no way he listens to the show, and if he does, there's no way he listens this far into the show.
The head of this part comes first for you.
Yeah. I'll just send him the clip on the side. For the culture, Lemons, you got to do it. Yeah. So it'll be an interesting playoff race, but Jake's probably 75-25 if I had to guess on odds. Jake is like minus 300 to make the playoffs. All right. Next up, we have the top scoring players of the week. Tua on your bench, Greg, had 37.5. Saquon for Cade, 55.2. Huge week. Jordan Addison on Lane's bench had 34.2. Trey McBride for George had 28.3. Brandon spot starter Will Lutz had 22. And the Dallas defense free agent had 24. All right. Transactions. There's not a ton going on in transactions ever since the trade deadline, but there's pickups, so check it out quick. As far as waivers go, Nick picked up Will Disley. Oh no, that's last week. Today waivers ran. Oh wow, you picked up Xavier Worthy for $16.
Did anyone bid, or was I just being stupid?
No, nobody bid.
All right, well, it's not Tyler Lockett, so I'll take it.
Has Xavier Worthy been good or something?
Hey, Xavier Worthy. I mean, I figured
Yeah.
would I rather have he's just going to fill up a spot? Is there better who has a better chance of getting hot? Xavier Worthy or Tyler Lockett?
That's a good point. Tyler Lockett is, for all intents and purposes, dead for fantasy. So Xavier Worthy is probably a better spot start. If you really need a guy to start, he can at least have a big week. I mean, he can also have no points, but so can Tyler Lockett. So I kind of respect it. $16 is a lot, but I mean
you can't take the fab with you when you go.
You got that right, buddy. You got that right. I noticed this earlier. I wanted to make a comment I forgot until now. Notice the bottom 3 teams in the league all have 100 fab. Nobody else does.
Preston had all last year to learn about fab after not spending any of it. I have no sympathy.
But didn't he try to spend like $2 of fab or something last year, and Brandon outbid him or something like that? I want to say he tried to spend fab one time after we roasted him a shit ton, and then he didn't win the bid.
Oh no, I was just doing out of protest. That makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to point that out. Maybe there's something to do with that. Spending fab. Chase McLaughlin got picked up. Brandon's next spot start. I mean, they play Carolina, I guess, but he hasn't really been that great. Dallas defense for Cade. Respect. They play the Giants. And I picked up the Gus bus because J.K. Dobbins sounds like he's not going to play with a sprained knee. I think he sprained his MCL, so he's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks. I might need the Gus bus as a spot start. He should be fine. It's going to be a committee there, but it was kind of a committee anyways. The Chargers run the ball enough that it should be okay. Gus should get the first crack at it. I'm not confident that he'll be the guy long term. There's a chance that he kind of loses some work to Vidal? Yeah, they have somebody else there too. Has been mixed in, so we'll see. But for now, we'll ride with him. I might have to start with him. Matchup previews, we'll run through those. Lickety split. I've got Cade this week, we talked about earlier. My lineup's pretty much set other than my flex spot. I've got Xavier Legette in there right now. I'm not 100% sold on that. I mean, him and Thielen in itself is already a question. But I might play Gus Edwards in there. He'd be the only one that I'd probably consider. Everybody else is so risky. But I need some upside. Gus Edwards might provide that for me just because, he'll potentially be the guy, and the guy there is valuable. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. Cade's team is nasty. We all know this. Josh Allen, Nico Collins, Terry, Saquon, Kenneth Walker, Tucker Kraft, Mike Evans. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple tough matchups in there with Saquon and Kenneth Walker, I guess. But nothing that would make you want to bench anybody, especially people of that caliber. JSN on the bench. Yeah, unfortunately, Cade's team is good enough that he can't really work him in. I mean, his lineup's kind of set every week. He's got studs in every position except for tight end. You can make an argument that Taysom Hill could pop in there for Tucker Kraft, in all honesty. But I respect wanting to go with Tucker Kraft culture. And he probably is a little, I don't know if he's safer or not. I mean, he can goose, but he is probably slightly safer. I don't know. Tough. Not entirely sure. For legal purposes, I do have to pick myself here. However, Greg, I would understand if you did not.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Cade. You can't really bet against that lineup.
Yeah.
In this situation, at least.
Agreed. Yeah.
But for the memes, it'd be cool if you win. You and Jake have a showdown next week. So
it'd be big for you too, because it would basically lock up the 1 seed for you.
That's true. Yeah. Go. Yeah. I can't change my pick, but
yeah. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. Just for the record, I guess since we're talking about it, the guest versus Jake and I, we are at I'm at 55%, Jake's at 56%, so I've caught up to Jake. The guest is shooting 70% from the hip right now.
Brian, I'm not trying to be an ass, but I am kind of thinking, is that because you and Jake are obligated to pick each other?
It could be. I will admit, I've not picked myself at least 2 times this year. Jake has always picked himself, but I have wavered from the path occasionally
Okay.
when it's daunting. I think I did win one of those though. Funny enough, might have been the one against. I think it was the one against Brandon. I think I picked Brandon to win, and then I beat him. I beat his ass. Pause.
Oh,
Yeah, good stuff. All right, so that matchup's done, thankfully. Brandon and Greg, great. This will be a good matchup for you guys because Brandon's team is really nasty, but for the first time this year, I may say that your team is good.
well, I'm gonna lose them, but thanks.
Baker against Carolina. I feel like those projections are kind of insulting, but I kind of get it. I don't know if there's really a world he gets 18. I feel like it's going to be either quite sad or quite good.
Yeah, I could see them like if this last week they're really run intensive. If they get up early, I mean, Baker could have 4. You never know.
Yeah, there's always a world for that. You're not wrong. I don't know. I think the only way Tampa blows out Carolina though is through the air.
I agree.
So yeah, I like Baker there, and honestly, Jalen Hurts has been good, but he hasn't been. I don't know. I'd probably take Jalen Hurts over Baker, but
I mean, they're playing Baltimore. That's gonna be.
Yeah.
I think that could be a good week for them.
could be. I don't. Jalen Hurts is just so scary because he'll have like 3 points at halftime because he fumbles twice and gets sacked a bunch, and then he'll throw like 3 touchdowns in the second half to AJ Brown, and he'll have 25 points, and you'll be happy, but kind of scared and mad. Yeah, I feel your pain, Brandon. I know what it's like. Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp will be a fun matchup. Drake London and Cortland Sutton, oddly enough, will probably be a fun matchup. Cortland Sutton's been really good. Gibbs and Achane, also a fun matchup. Achane's been unstoppable, and if Monty doesn't play, I lean Gibbs there, but man, yeah. I go Jones over Pacheco, I think. Even if Pacheco plays, I don't think the Chiefs are going to just give him all the work. I think he'll split with Hunt, and Pacheco will be good for 10 points probably, and it's not like Aaron Jones has been doing that much better than that, but I think Aaron Jones' ceiling is higher. Kelsey and Brock Bowers, another fun match. Wow, you guys have some pretty darn good teams. I take Bijan over Pittman, though. That's the first one that is pretty easy for me.
Yeah, for Pittman, it's Josh Downs is rumored to be out. He's questionable right now, but they're
That'd be
calling him
big.
week to week. And in the last 2 weeks, Richardson's kind of found out how to throw to Pittman. I think he's gotten like 7 targets about each game.
Yeah.
And usually more of a target monster anyway. With Downs out, to me, Brandon, I'm going to need higher upside, and I feel like Pittman's going to give me that over Swift.
I respect that, yeah, because Swift is fine. And Detroit's a tough matchup. I get that 100%. I don't think I'd make any changes to your lineup. I think that's probably the right move. The only thing you could do is Tua versus Baker. That's a question mark.
Yeah.
Dealer's choice there.
Baker hasn't lost a job, so I'm just going to keep riding with him. If I lose, if I lose, then at least I, have a little clearer idea forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon's bench, on the other hand, is a different story with Jerry Jeudy and Calvin Ridley there. Both those guys could easily score more than Sutton. The running backs are probably set. Well, Pacheco, honestly, I'd probably be starting James Conner. I don't know. Minnesota's a tough matchup. I get why you wouldn't.
I could see moving Bijan for Pacheco and then putting Ridley or Jeudy in flex. But
that's a good point too. You could.
I don't hate his lineup. I mean, because the thing is, Pacheco is a bit of a risk coming back from injury, but if he, I feel like the Chiefs are kind of missing that spark on offense, so I could see him getting some work even if he's just coming back.
I mean, they're not going to activate him to not play him, right? But at the same time, I don't think he's going to get 20 touches. I think somewhere in like the 8 to 12 range is probably more realistic, which on a Chiefs-led offense, is, you don't need a ton more. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they play the Raiders. It's not like they really need to try that hard.
I could see that being a trap game, though.
A sneaky good game.
If they barely beat the Panthers and the Raiders are in division,
That's a good point.
It doesn't happen those weeks.
Absolutely. Although I did hear the Raiders starting Aiden O'Connell this week, so
Never mind.
I think Gardner like broke
Forgot-
his collarbone or
yeah.
something like that.
No, I didn't say Daniel Jones. I heard he got somebody the Vikings.
He did, yes. I don't. Honestly, Daniel Jones might be better than Sam Darnold. People aren't ready to hear that, Greg, but
I'm not ready to hear it, but you can't
Yeah.
give him the job over Darnold
no,
if
you can't.
they won 8 games.
You can't Mike Tomlin it because Kevin O'Connell is seems like a good head coach for sure, but he's not Mike Tomlin yet. So
True.
you will get questioned a lot more than Tomlin did, and he did get questioned for his decision to start Wilson over Fields when they were winning, and it worked out. But yeah, that's something that if you make that move, you better be right, and if you're not right, you better be Mike Tomlin.
True.
So this is a tough one for me, Greg. If Downs misses, I like Pittman a lot more. Oh man, I'm gonna go with you.
Dang. I have to go. I have to go for me too. But I hate that both of us going against Brandon. I feel like that's only going to fuel him more. But
Yeah, well, and honestly, 75% of the reason I'm going with you is Jamar Chase. He
well, I
can
might
just
bench.
win
I
it.
haven't decided.
Yeah, that's a good point. If
Take
you
my name.
if you bench Jamar Chase, I'll definitely pick you. Oh, jeez. That'll be a fun matchup. That'll be a good one to watch for seeding purposes. Preston and George. Preston has an opportunity here to do something really funny.
I hope he does.
Me too. I hope he does too. And honestly, CJ Stroud against Jacksonville is one of the few times that I'm very okay with starting CJ Stroud.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. If you're gonna start him, you might. If you're gonna start him every other week, you wouldn't bench him this week.
Exactly. Right. I mean, he put up 28.5 last time he played Jacksonville. That was his best week of the year by quite a wide margin. I'm comfortable with Stroud against Jacksonville. I think he outperforms that projection by a good chunk. I think that's I think him and Lamar's projection should be a lot closer in that game, personally. Now, will Lamar blow his projection out of the water? Very possibly. But Philly's a good defense, so. Puka and AJ Brown, Lat McConkey, Justin Jefferson, Mixon, Kyron, JT, Breece Hall. Breece Hall might not play. It actually sounds more and more likely that he won't play. He got picked up with this sore knee. I believe this is the same knee injury that he picked up in their game against the Colts before their bye week.
Oh, really?
So it's still bothering him after the bye. I'm worried about that personally.
Well, that shut him down for the year at that point. I mean, he has nothing to play for the Jets.
Depending on what it is, absolutely, right? Because, I mean, if this is a multi-week knee injury, and like you said, you're the Jets, how important is it really? Especially when you have a guy like Braylon Allen, who George does not have. So, yeah, I'm not counting on Breece Hall to play this week. And because there's so many Thursday games with Thanksgiving, it looks like on George's bench, he doesn't really have to worry about that. But you do have to be careful about backup options for guys like Breece Hall because a lot of teams will have more players playing on Thursday, give you less options. But, I mean, if you're George, I guess it's Ramondre, but you're not very happy about it. Doesn't really have very many other options. He should have picked up Gus Edwards.
Justice Hill. Hey, it's
Justice Hill.
20.
He doesn't do it 2 weeks in a row. I don't recommend it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But I do respect the grind. Hey, you know the Hill Lamar stack. Yeah.
First.
Laporta McBride, Jacobs Higgins. Yeah, I mean, both of these teams have players that I really don't like, and both these teams have players I really do like. If I'm Preston, does Davante Adams touch my lineup? I don't know.
If I'm Preston, I'm benching Taylor. I'm putting Jacobs in the running back, and I'm putting Wall in the flex. Personally,
I don't hate that. I know Green Bay is like supposedly good against wide receivers in fantasy, but if Jair doesn't play, which I doubt he will, Waddle up against our CB3. Is that Stokes? Is that going to be Stokes potentially?
I think it would be Stokes.
Yeah, I'd feel pretty good about that too. Actually,
That's at least a touchdown if it's Stokes.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah, that could be a little interesting. Him or Devontae, you could make an argument for both. Yeah, there's a world where you bench JT here for sure. I don't know. It'd be really tough for me too. But it'd be really funny if I won this game. I like it.
I'm hoping for it. Honestly, yeah,
I'm gonna go with Preston.
I'm going to Preston too.
Oh yeah, baby.
I'm in for the memes, and I think Preston could be the meme man this week.
George is probably so pissed right now. He's like, "What, bro? Preston's team is trash."
George can say that. Everyone's been picking me against me for like 3 weeks, and it's helping me. So
You like this, George? You like that? You like that?
no, the thing is though, like Preston's kind of like Nick, where he doesn't have a bad team, he just has bad luck. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's sooner or later, like he's due.
He is due. I agree. Well, Puka's gonna have like 30 points, so he should probably start Stafford with him. No, Stroud's fine. All right, Jake has a scheduled win against Lemons. Lemons' team is honestly built perfectly for him. I'm almost jealous of his team building abilities to get exactly what he needs out of his team every single week, and that is a loss. Jake's gonna win this game probably less handily than he'd like, but I'll still go with Jake.
This is like last matchup though, where Michael has the opportunity to be really funny.
He does. He absolutely does. Lemons, if there was ever a time to start Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, George Kittle, and DK Metcalf, it's this week.
Preston won last week, so he has a game to give.
Yeah, you have an opportunity to do
I
something
believe his
really
points
funny
for
for
is
free.
like 100 less. Yeah, like he's 110 less. So even if he wins, like blows out Jake, there's a good chance he steals the first pick next week.
Not to mention, Lemons plays Brandon in the last week, and there's no shot he loses to Brandon.
Oh, no chance.
So,
no chance.
Especially with his, tanking lineup. Yeah. Honestly, Jake is praying for Breece Hall to not play because if I'm Jake, I would love to get JMO out of that lineup.
Yeah.
But, he has a ton of Thursday games. Wow, Jake's if Thanksgiving isn't what Jake hopes it is, he's going to be very stressed out. Lemons.
I love Jake, but dang, Michael could be so funny.
If Jordan Love throws like 3 touchdowns to Dontavian Wicks this week, I would never stop laughing.
Brian, if I'm you, I side message Lemons as soon as this podcast is over. You got to try to talk him into something.
I'm going to have to. Oh, that's such good stuff. Yeah. This is good content here, Jake should win this game, but if he doesn't, honestly, Rico Dowdle has an opportunity to start here over someone like Najee.
Yeah.
Just a shout out. I don't know.
The Giants are in shambles right now. I kind of like that, honestly.
Yeah. Something to think about. It'll be Braylon Allen probably, though.
That's true. Yeah. Ball isn't starting.
You could potentially start both. Pull out JMO, but I don't know if Jake will take out his guy.
Jake's not taking out JMO.
Yeah. All right, last matchup. We got Nick and Lane.
Who taking?
Oh, sorry. I took Jake. Are you taking Jake?
I'm taking Mike. I think
Lemons?
Mike. I'm banking on Mike hating Jake enough to try.
Nice. I love it. I love it so much. I'm not going to lie, Greg. I skipped over who we were going to take on that one because I had already penciled you in for Jake. It's a scheduled loss. Every week is a scheduled loss for Lemons.
Here's the thing. If Mike was like playing like Cade or something and it was the same scenario, I'd pencil in Cade too because Michael, it's one. But if it's like George or Jake, that's a game that like Mike could sneaky want to win.
I'd love it. Oh, man. All right, Nick and Lane. Lane should win this game, but the projections are way closer than they have any business being, especially with Nick's kicker not playing, sounds like. So he'll have Younghoe Koo in, so tack on another 9 points, and all of a sudden Nick's projected to beat Lane. I don't like the Jared Goff, Amon-Ra stack, especially against a team like the Bears. Keenan Allen is kind of trash, but he had a big week last week and could perform. Derrick Henry's good. Tough matchup, though. Does Lane have to start Jerome? No, okay. He hasn't changed his team yet. Okay. So James Cook will slot in for Ford. That might be it. there's a world where Lane starts Evan Ingram over Njoku, and I wouldn't blame you. They're both totally fine options. Njoku's probably a better play, but tough matchup. Yeah, horse piece there. I wouldn't fault the guy for either or. I think I have the same exact decision in one of my leagues, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. Probably just leave Njoku. Nick has Disley in right now. I don't know if Kincaid's gonna play or not. If he does, he's in, I guess. Yeah, probably the lineup. Do you have a quarterback? Oh yeah, Anthony Richardson.
He has the quarterback, Ryan.
He does. Who does he play this week? Patriots?
Ooh. If Nick is trying to win, that might have like enough upside to tempt me to put him in.
Yeah.
But again, that's assuming Nick's trying to win. He might be. I mean, it doesn't look like a tanking lineup to me.
He can't.
But they could
against
change it.
Preston. He'd have to have an impressive level of tank to pass Preston in the draft order, just on points for alone. Unless Preston does something really funny.
Well, if Preston, again, yeah, maybe Preston won't try then. No.
He is playing against George. We did both take Preston to win, to be fair. More for the memes than anything else, but at the same time,
Preston's got fight in him. I think he'll try.
His team on paper is good, and on the right week, Preston's team can pop off. Yeah, I don't know. I think Lane's team should handle Nick here. But the Goff, Amon-Ra stack, but Neighbors.
This is a reality against the Bears. You're looking at 4 points and 8 points right there.
Amon-Ra will get more than 8, but you might be right about Jared Goff. Amon-Ra will end up with at least 12. You can't change my mind. That's like his floor. But Jared Goff could end up with negative points realistically. Not that I'm betting on him to, but there was a matchup where he was going to. It'd be this one. I'm going to go Nick. I'm going to say Christian McCaffrey pops off in this game.
I think I'm going to go Nick too. I
don't feel very good about any
I just think there's more upside. I think Lane wins this 6 out of 10 times, but I think Nick has enough upside.
Lane should win this game, but funny if he didn't. There's a realistic chance that Jake has just as many correct picks this week as I do. That'd be embarrassing. Yeah.
That's the real stat. Just Jake miss every podcast, holds this projection to the end of the year. Good on him.
That's genius. Oh man. All right. Well, that's all the matchups. We only have one other thing to do, Greg.
I'll get the button ready.
Are you ready with the button?
Yes.
All right, that's what I like to hear. Pop through these. All right, lemons. Oh, where do we start? Right, lemons, I'm thankful for the scheduled loss so late in the season. I truly am. I beg of you, this isn't going to be a roast. I beg of you to try a little harder next week for the boys so that Jake can be eliminated. But not really.
Boom. Roasted.
Please. There's no point roasting lemons anymore. He's the way you roast. Yeah, exactly.
We're dead.
Exactly that. The only way you can roast lemons is by telling him he's gonna win, because that's what he doesn't want to do. He wants to lose. Can't really one of him when he loses. All right, Jake. On the other hand, you can definitely roast. Jake, your team is just as trash as mine is. I'm coming.
Boom. Roasted.
I added a button just for that.
I've been coming.
Yes.
I'm going to continue to come.
Yes. Thank you, Greg. Yeah. Enjoy that button. I think that was the first time I pressed it today. So.
Yeah, I'm kind of lacking on the button, so I can't hear him, so it's not as fun for me.
Yeah. I put it in specifically for talking about me passing Jake in the standings. So.
Sorry. I'll be quicker.
No, you did a great job, Greg. Much better than Jake. Nobody. Jake.
You're trash at fantasy.
Nice. All right, Nick. I think my 3-week prophecy from last week's rewind might actually be accurate. Imagine losing to Preston.
Boom. Roasted.
George, Your team is destined to be knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. Thanks for the first round pick, Bozo.
Boom. Roasted.
You like that? You like that?
All right. Last one. Lane, I cannot fault you for choking this hard down the stretch. It's in your Jaguars DNA after all. Oh, yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah. It's a good point. Lane does love to choke down the stretch. Double entendre, I guess. Yeah, it's in your DNA, yeah, as a Jaguars fan. To joke, so.
Boom. Roasted.
Nice. All right. That does it for all the roasts. Good luck to everybody next week except for Jake. Fuck Jake. Cade and Brandon. You guys all stink. Thanks everyone for listening. Hope you all have a fantastic Thanksgiving. All those glizzy gobblers out there, hope you're glizzying and gobbling your fill. Oh god. Yeah. Anywho, enjoy your football, enjoy your family. Try not to start too many fights at home. And hopefully we'll see you all next week. Adios.